Hey guys, so you guys know that I like to scroll on Reddit and read things, and I am in this CNA thread, and I came across this post that I feel like might be interesting information for other people who may be considering becoming a CNA. So the person said, "How often do you get to sit?" Now I'm going to read what the full content of their question, and then I will share my thoughts and information that I have to share. So the person said, "I currently work in retail and I hate having to stand up for 8+ hours. My managers are really strict about sitting while on the clock, even if there's no customers in the store for hours. I'm currently going into CNA courses and I'm curious how often you get to sit." So I will say that this is definitely going to vary based on the type of position that you have. So are you home health where you're or like a caregiver where you are kind of one-on-one with the patient, because that will definitely make a difference. When there's just one patient, it can be a lot easier to have downtime depending on the needs of the patient. It is also going to depend on the shift that you work. So are you working night shift? There may be more downtime on night shift than there is on other shifts. It just kind of depends. Also, I've worked at facilities on night shifts where they expect their CNAs to go and do additional tasks. Since they are on night shift, they feel like the CNAs should be able to get certain things done that staff that are there during daytime hours may not be able to do, such as cleaning wheelchairs. I've done that at multiple facilities when I was working night shift. They expected us to clean the wheelchairs of whatever patients were on our assignment. Sometimes I would just go, and anybody that I knew had a wheelchair that would get like super messy, I would clean it every night that I was there, whether they were on my assignment or not, just because I kind of hate the thought of someone having to sit in this chair all day long, every day, with crumbs and like food stains and things just in this chair. It made me feel awful that this person would potentially have to sit in that all day long. So I would go and clean it every night. I will say that day shift is probably one of the most busy shifts, although there may be some downtime depending on the needs of your residents or patients, depending where you work. I'm saying this as more of like nursing home, long-term care, hospital, because that is where the bulk of my experience was. But again, like if you're working home health or working as a caregiver in someone's home, that is a completely different situation. If you're working in the hospice realm of things, that is also a completely different situation, because a lot of people that are on hospice are bedbound, or they're not as active, so they're not getting up and doing things as much as someone who may not be on hospice. Obviously, there are exceptions to that rule, because some people are on hospice and still somewhat active before they go into like the process of actively dying. And I can give more information about hospice if you guys are curious about things like that. But for this video, obviously hospice is going to be one where you may have downtime quite more frequently than if you were working in a nursing home where people are constantly on the move and you work day shift. Because there's so much to do on a day shift, especially there's people in and out of the rooms, there's family members coming and going, there's physical therapy, doctors, appointments, things like that. Like you may have to get your patient up and ready for dialysis and things like that. It just kind of depends on the needs of the patient and the resident. And like I said, the facility that you work in, what type of unit you work on. You may, in assisted living, have a little bit more sit down time, but it is also going to depend. There's so many different factors, and I think that what is important is if you are considering becoming a CNA, definitely look into the types of units that you might be interested in working on. When you're going through CNA training, this is the time that you need to like ask yourself, is this what I really want to do? Is this the type of unit that I would want to work on? What type of facility do you want to work at? Do you want to work in the hospital where there might be extra help available? Do you want to work in a nursing home where you might be slammed with patients depending on the ratio, or if your state has a legal ratio set in place for patient care and patients. So those are things that you should definitely look into. Also, are you someone who can handle confused and combative residents on a daily? Because if not, or if you don't even want to go into that situation, then working in a memory care unit is definitely not going to be for you. So these are things that you definitely have to take into consideration. I had quite a bit more downtime working night shift than any other shift, just because even though patients were still awake, there were quite a few patients who would be in bed at the very least, even if they were just in their beds watching TV. Night shift was usually a little bit more toned down. There was less activity going on the unit. There were still people who would call and, need to go to the bathroom or need help with something. There's still people that need to be changed and people that need to be gotten up and dressed and whatever in the morning. But as far as like how often you would get to sit down, I mean, night shift was more frequent than the other two shifts. I've worked all shifts as a CNA. I've worked 8-hour shifts, 12-hour shifts, 10-hour shifts, 16-hour shifts, and I've worked days, evenings, and nights. So it's just kind of dependent on, like I said, the residents, the type of facility, the type of care they need. Are they on hospice? Are they memory care? Are you just helping in the home? Are you a sitter? All of these things are going to come into play. A sitter is definitely going to be the most, I don't want to say relaxed because that's the wrong word, but if you're like a one-to-one sitter, if your patient is sleeping, you're sitting, like sitting down in a chair. If your patient is up, you definitely have to be alert and watching what they're doing, but you don't necessarily have to be standing up if they're not standing up or trying to do something. So again, if you guys would like more information or would like me to elaborate on something, let me know. I'd be glad to do so. Hopefully somebody found this helpful. I just thought that it would be kind of helpful to share in case somebody else was considering maybe going into CNA work and had a similar question. So again, if there's any topics you would like me to discuss on my channel in the future, feel free to let me know. I'd be glad to get something filmed for you. And with that being said, I will talk to you guys next time.